It's all right, because, I mean, if you want to leave, we're going to do Gardiners Road corridor improvements next. Just saying. Eh? Yes, I know you've got a question. Just a minute. We've got staff coming to the table. Wait one. Steady, calm. Right. Mike, you have a question.
Thanks. I'm just curious because obviously it looks like it's going to be done in two stages and a bit of a gap potentially between the stages. Wouldn't there be efficiencies of actually doing them at both stages at the same time?
Yeah, in an ideal world that would be correct. So in this case here, it's broken into 3 stages.
Yeah.
So the amendment that to the LTP was for $500,000 to build a shared use path from Wilkinson's down to Sawyer's Arms. And so through some workshops with the community board, we looked at what we can actually do for that amount of money in terms of scope and timing of that. So what we can do is design stage 1 and stage 2 in one go and construct stage 1. The balance of funding required for stage 2 would have to pull forward in an annual plan process. Yep. And then the balance of stage 3, where there's a high volume of residential development going on, a lot of that frontage work will be completed by developers. So it's value for money for council to collaborate with development and let developers contribute to that work.
Yeah, I 100% agree with stage 3, and hopefully the developers paying for that. But so when is the timing for stage 2 build compared to stage 1? There's still going to be a gap between them?
Correct, yes, there will be.
So I was just, I don't want to get into debate about actually how the 500,000 came about, but it's there now, and I want to see if there's a potential actually to get the right amount of funding on there. And I know with the slowness of the wheels to wings, is there not going to be some of that budget pushed out, and potentially we can...
I honestly can't answer that. So in terms of the funding, staff advice in terms of our priorities now is to take it from the financial year 24 annual plan. But if funding is available before that, we'll be in a position where it's designed and we can carry on and construct the whole lot in one go.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. That was not the questions I thought you were going to ask, so that's fantastic. But we asked exactly the same questions at community board, and they said the efficiency will be in getting the planning done at the same time, and then just scheduling the work.
Okay, that's cool then. Thanks.
Okay, but if it were to come about that you got the extra money on budget for the next financial year, you'd be able to roll it onto the back of the...
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you wouldn't double up on having to go back to market or anything like that?
No, so you definitely get an economy of scale if you did the whole lot in one go, if the funding was there. Yep.
So, well, what I'm worried about is that we're actually deliberately setting ourselves up to spend more than we need to. If we're getting the work done, if we haven't put enough on budget, do we look for funding in the project? You're saying that the majority of that sits in the design stage, so doing the design at the same time as part of it, but are you telling me you'd have to go out to market for another procurement, or could you procure on the basis that if the money comes through for stage 2, then they would do that as a follow-on from that work?
Depends on the gap between it, but if the gap was big enough, you'd have to procure it twice, and that's where you'd come into the extra additional costs and extra establishment, etc. for a contractor.
Yeah.
I mean, if the councils have a mind to bring it forward, we'd happily bring it forward.
Yeah, no, I mean,
we tried to strike a compromise, knowing that there could be some tension around it. So
yeah, but I'm stage 3's got its own thing, so that's
stage 3's relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stage 1 and 2, I've taken comfort from the statement that the design happening together, but I know how much procurement costs. And it just seems that there's an additional amount of money potentially being spent on procurement where you could, in fact, procure stage 1 and 2, and 2 being on if the money becomes available earlier. But you're saying that it may not connect the timing.
Yeah, well, I can't, based on the funding available at the moment, we couldn't commit to procuring the stage 2 part of it after design. So the situation we're in at the moment is that that's the best we can do with the funding that's available.
I think
the plan in front of us.
To be fairly, and we did have a discussion about it with Lynette, and the concern was, to be honest, from our point of view, was that we got the 500 on budget, which was high level advice from staff. Dawn and I talked about the amendment process and how potentially we need to hone in on it a wee bit more. But Lynette's concern was, not that I'd speak on her behalf, but binding the council to a decision and an annual plan that exceeds the budget we put on at the LTP. Yeah.
Can we just ask? Oh,
We can quickly move it.
you're kidding.
Yeah, it's already moved.
Yeah, quickly move it.
Second,
Quickly move it.
It's been moved and seconded.
Yeah.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried.
Sure.